It's time to take off your clothes, enjoy clothes-free living, and join us for Naked, Nudists, and Naturists.
Welcome to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, the show that celebrates clothes-free living for all. I'm your host, Frank Stone.
And I'm your correspondent, Lisa Monroe, and I'll be reporting on all things within the naturist community. So it's time to get naked and join us.
And enjoy clothes-free living on Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Well, greetings and welcome into Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 124 today. Really glad that you're with us. We've missed you since last Saturday morning. Ready to enjoy the next 50 minutes or so of clothes-free living for all of the right reasons. So come on in. The pool is ready to go. The hot tub is fired up. The grill is going full bore with your favorite steak on it today. That's what we're making. Fruits and vegetables off to the right. Cold drinks off to the left. Hot drinks including espresso. A listener donated an espresso machine. We have those inside, so help yourself. And if you go out of the pool area, off to the left, there's a hammock waiting for you strung between two trees, also suggested by a listener. Out back, if you leave the pool area and go to the back area, there's a little putting green there, also suggested by a listener. We have 3 putting holes out there. You can practice your putting. Get ready for the big PGA championship sometime next year. And, of course, we have the cigar bar in the back left corner of the pool area. Extra towels, extra lotion, extra chairs. We are ready to go. If you brought nothing at all, if you just happen to be driving by and say, hey, that's Frank's place, isn't it? I think I'll stop by and see how he's doing. Well, now you know we have an extravaganza going on every Wednesday. And you are welcome to dive in and, again, enjoy clothes-free living for all the right reasons. And that is a reminder, we're coming to you twice a week now. It was supposed to be most Wednesdays. It's turned into every Wednesday. I believe this is our 8th straight Wednesday. Every Wednesday at noon Eastern Time, every Saturday, well, you know the time for Saturday, 6 a.m. Eastern Time on Spotify, because we've done, I believe, 116 straight Saturdays. Without fail, without being late, you could set your watch to us every Saturday morning, 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time on Spotify. We've been there for you 116 straight Saturdays, 117 coming up on this Saturday. But today's episode 124, when you add everything together, the Wednesday extravaganza, just Lisa and myself. She is coming in as we speak, coffee in hand. We'll get to her in just a moment. Before we do, just a quick announcement for you. On this coming Saturday, our special guest will be Jeff Jackson. Jeff is the founder and owner of the Rocky Mountain Naturist Club in Colorado. He's also the current vice president for American Association for Nude Recreation, the Western region. And he's developed a manual on how to start a non-landed club and keep it going and thriving. And everything is in there. It's one of the best manuals I've ever read on any topic, and I'm not just saying that because it's our show, because he's a guest, because it's Anner. I'm saying it because it's true. A very thorough manual. If you want to start a non-landed club, you merely just follow the manual that Jeff has developed and you'll be good to go. But what I wanted to point out is that Jeff had 2 other gentlemen who assisted him along the way, and he wanted to be sure that they got equal credit. They're not assistants. They're not runners. They had full hands in developing this manual, and that is Kane Stanton and John Puchelt. Hope I pronounced your name correctly there, John. Kane Stanton, John Puchelt. Also ringleaders with Jeff Jackson in developing the manual for how to start, continue, and thrive with your non-landed club. So that comes up this Saturday, part 1, and part 2 on the following week. Just want to make sure we gave those gentlemen credit where credit is due. Well, I don't know about you, but I think I hear some music. That can only mean one thing. It's time for the great, the terrific, the one and only, the completely over-the-top, fully clothes-free and fully smiling, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. And here she is, the one and only, the one of a kind, the completely clothes-free and fully smiling, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. Good morning, Lisa. How are you today?
Good morning, Frank. I'm doing very well this wonderful morning. So how about you?
Not too bad at all. I did want to share something with you first, though.
Yes.
And that is we received a note from Jeff Jackson. As I mentioned in the beginning of the show, there are actually 3 people who helped to develop the document on non-landed clubs. But he sent us an email, and we were going back and forth on some issues, particularly the manual, and the show and some other things. And he put at the end, I didn't give this to you, so I will read it to you. P.S. I love the banter between you and Lisa on the show. The visual image I conjure of her waving her hands around and dancing naked into the studio while trying to make you laugh during her introduction always makes me chuckle. Hopefully one day she will be successful and you will start busting up during the intro. Keep trying, Lisa! Exclamation point.
I promise I will keep trying, Jeff. I promise.
You have fans out there. How would you like to respond to Mr. Jackson?
I will tell Mr. Jackson that I appreciate very much that he enjoys this, and definitely am going to do my utmost to make sure that happens. It will happen at one point, I promise. I don't know what we have to do, get a marching band in here or something. I don't know, but we'll get it done.
Well, it sort of happened several episodes ago, and that's when I started the routine of I don't look at you during your intro. Not going to happen.
This is true.
Bad enough, I have to kind of see you as you're leaving when I'm doing the outro of the segment, but we'll let it fly for now. Anyway, I thought you'd appreciate that.
Yeah, I do, and that's very kind of him to say, and I'm glad that he's enjoying the commentary down the show.
And the humor we toss in from time to time.
Yes, we try.
That's right.
We're so funny. I mean, it's just amazing. No, I'm kidding.
Well, we make each other laugh when the mics are off,
true.
So why not, right?
This is true. So it's just a carryover. That'll work.
And I make myself laugh when I'm alone. How about you?
Yes, occasionally. Sometimes it's thinking about something that you've said and going, oh my God, I can't believe he said that, and then laugh. But anyway, yes. If you don't laugh, you don't, there's no joy in life. That's
no kidding.
We gotta have laughter.
Yeah, we are big proponents of that. Now, we laugh at the right times.
Yes.
We don't say, wow, we lost all of our money. Ha, ha, ha. Isn't that funny? No, that would not be funny, would it?
No, that's not funny at all. I mean, there's appropriate times to, find your joy. There's a podcaster on or TikToker or something that always ends his little clips with "Find your joy," and I think that's what we really need to do is find our joy at all times that we can.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong. I have to be careful how I say this. I don't want to encourage people to go off the deep end, but sometimes when you're in a stressful or negative situation, there's nothing wrong with joking during that situation, as long as you are fully aware that you are joking and the other people understand you're joking too. But it helps to break up the stress and the monotony and the negativity of the situation sometimes when you do that, right?
It certainly does. And if you think back to military pilots and you realize that most of those military pilots have incredible senses of humor. And part of that is because it's a stress reliever. Yeah. When when you fly in a fighter jet, you got to kind of have your concentration on target, and the humor part, I think, helps them stay concentrated. They don't get so overwhelmed, and it keeps that stress level down. And I think it's a good lesson for all of us. There are times when it's appropriate to make a comment, that's funny, but not inappropriate to whatever the situation is. So, yeah, just find your joy.
Yeah. And probably we should encourage people when someone takes their clothes off in front of you, that's not a good time to laugh. Not a good time to laugh.
No, it is not. And besides, we're all into body positivity, so none of us would ever do that, right?
That's
no,
correct.
We wouldn't.
And we're just being silly now. Sorry
yes,
about that.
We are.
Sometimes
yes,
we
we are.
On the silly train. I wanted to start off by thanking Corky Stanton from Clothes Free International. We recently talked about his show hitting the 600th episode, which is beyond belief incredible. Well, Corky then turns around, and on his next episode, which I guess was 601, actually I didn't look at the number, but I think it was the very next show, he gave us a shout out on his show, and he actually played our entire segment when we discussed him. It was over 3 minutes long. He played the entire segment on his show. And so again, Corky, we want to thank you for that. And really, Lisa, we've talked about this a lot, like even before we started the show back on July 1st of 23. That's the way the whole thing is supposed to work.
Mhm.
We help each other, we support each other, and the old phrase, which I've always found to be lame, but I'll use it anyway since it fits, a rising tide helps all boats, or something like that. Is that how the expression goes?
Yeah, something like that. A rising tide raises all boats. I'm not sure,
Lifts
but
all boats, yeah.
yeah, but lifts all boats. But yes, but that's true. And again, it comes back to that joy and that laughter. Find joy in what other people do, not just the funny things, but take some of your joy from the fact that people are succeeding. And I think that's the communication level we should all have. But there are a lot that don't. So, but yeah.
No, our very first shows, the first several episodes, we gave shout outs to different people.
Hmm.
And some people, the same time, 2 or 3, even 4 different shows, and told people to listen to their shows as well. I think we even put links out there. And we were responded to with 2 people stopped talking to us, and the third trashed us on social media, so we don't talk to him anymore. It's like, are you kidding me? We're in this thing together. We're all with the American Association for Nude Recreation, and you're out there trashing us. So by contrast, Corky Stanton says, hey, here's a guy and a gal and a show who are praising us. We're going to praise them right back, and everybody wins. Close Free International wins, Naked Nudists and Naturists wins, the American Association for Nude Recreation wins when everybody bands together. And I also wanted to point out, Linda Weber, the president of ANR, frequently reposts our content, whether it's a show or a YouTube show on Sunday. But she's out there liking and or reposting, depending on the day or the week. Jeff, I believe his title is communications director. I could be off on that, but it's communications something. He's part of the paid staff in Kissimmee, Florida. He reposts every blasted thing we put out there. You name it, he reposts everything and does a like and then reposts it. So hats off and thank you to Corky, Linda, and of course Jeff, because that's how we win. And we do the same thing. We post and repost as well. Now, at the ANR meeting in August, I was not able to attend by Zoom due to a family thing going on, a medical thing. But you did, and you reported to me during the meeting, like every 3 or 4 seconds, that George, who heads up the marketing committee, and George Oberly is also one of the creators of the Naturist Hub, a social group for naturists. I know Linda Weber had a hand in developing that as well. But George said some nice things about us too, didn't he? If you recall what he said, now's as good a time as any to say it.
Well, he did say some very nice things, and respect George and his talent and his position within ANR. And he's came out and said that he needed to thank Frank at Naked Nudists and Naturists because of the fact that we constantly are promoting the ANR, and that we are, if there's a monthly promotion, we take it and run with it. We post it on our website. We talk about it on the show. We post about it on social media. So, and that's what it's about. And it was very kind because on 2 separate occasions, he did bring that up and gave us a great shout out for the assistance that we've been giving ANR. And so we appreciate his words very much.
Yeah, and that's how you do actual PR. That's how you
Yes.
do actual positive PR,
Right.
is by promoting each other and getting the word out, because then everybody wins. And again, at the head of the winner list is ANR. We're all here to work for, and by working for, I mean in cooperation with. We're not unpaid staff or anything, and we don't get paid from ANR for anything. But we work with them to promote them, but they are the organization. And so anytime they promote us, they win. We promote them, they win. Now, we win too. Don't misunderstand. Everybody wins, which I guess is my main point. And in this world, as you know, there's a lot of unprofessionalism, a lot of lack of maturity. Well, I'm not going to promote them for whatever reason. I don't like them. They're too good, whatever. Well, then everybody loses. Everybody loses when you don't do your job or what you're supposed to do. So we want to make really sure that we're thanking big time and keep this train running. Corky Stanton, Linda Weber, Jeff at the Anner office, and George in charge of marketing. Thank you for doing everything you've done so far the right way, and we will keep our end of the bargain up too. Any final thoughts?
I think, again, I think it was very kind of George to say the things that he did during the meeting. And it's important for people to remember, keep your eye on the prize. The prize is keeping Anner in good stead, keeping membership growing, keeping the things that Anner does for all of us there and viable. And so that's the goal we're working for, and we all will win for ourselves along the way because we're, out there promoting, everything. But the prize is to keep Anner in business. And that's what we're striving to do.
There you go. And we are doing our part, and those 4 people are doing their part, and we appreciate you very much. We got yet another email from Mark, Mark of nudeandhappy.com over in France. And this was after he listened to episode 120, so a couple of weeks ago. And I know you're going to like the beginning of it. I don't know, maybe you should read it. Do you speak French at all?
No, I do not. I can fake the French accent very badly before, okay. So I'm not even going to try.
There is one word in French. Do you know how to pronounce that word? Don't say it now, but yes or no, do you know how to pronounce that word?
I think maybe, but I'm not sure. I can try.
I'll turn that over to you. I'll do the first line so you can just sit back and bask in the glory and in the glow. Mark starts off with Dear Lisa and Frank, putting Lisa first, me dead last. Just pointing that out. So, Dear Lisa and Frank, why don't you take it from there?
Sorry, Frank. French courtesy, ladies first, but I love you both. And he has a little smiley face. So, well, he's forgiven.
And an exclamation point.
Yes, very much so.
Exclamation points always win, takes the edge off the putting Frank last, but we'll move on.
This is true. Yes, find your joy, Frank. Find your joy.
So he says, I hope you're both well, exclamation point. I was listening to episode 120, and particularly the letter from Jim B., where you discussed the topic of sexualizing nudity. I found the example of the French families teaching moderation with wine particularly enlightening. That was your reference, right? As I recall. It struck me that this idea of teaching moderation and understanding from a young age is central to addressing our nudist community's challenges. And I want you to read the next paragraph.
As you know from my blog, I was introduced to nudism by my parents as a child. We had open discussions about it, and even now, as an adult, like you, Frank, I'm only 27, but I don't know how to count well, so I may be confused.
Okay, we'll buy that.
So he doesn't look over 26. What can I tell you? So as an adult, I can comfortably be naked around them. I believe that this foundational understanding and acceptance played a crucial role in shaping my perception of nudity.
Okay, I'll take the next one. Society and religion play roles, but the most significant influence, in my opinion, is parents. It is essential for us to differentiate between nudity and sexuality and to teach children that there is nothing wrong with being comfortable in their own skin. And if you don't mind, go ahead and finish up.
Nudist organizations also have a vital role in defending our rights and educating the public. It's key to making a clear distinction and fostering a respectful environment for everyone. Thanks for sharing such thought-provoking content. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Hugs, Mark.
Now, wait a minute. The second to the last sentence. Thanks for sharing such thought-provoking content, exclamation point.
Yes. I'm sorry. I should learn to read those exclamation points for the audience to know exactly, how wonderful. Well, it's a great comment anyway. So thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, there's a lot in there, and I want to get your reaction to it as well. He says basically the number one influence on kids, it has to do with the parents. And that absolutely is how it's supposed to work. And in most cases it does, in some cases not. If you had an absentee parent or, whatever, save that for another day. But just think of how many times when you were growing up, you heard, yes, good job, well done, or hey, don't do that again, no matter what it was. And you learned early on, oh, I can't do that. Oh, I can do this. So yeah, if your parents say, get your clothes on, I know you're only 6 months old, but walk to your bedroom, get dressed, and don't ever do that again, you're going to learn early on, having clothes off is bad.
Yes.
Any reaction to Mark's letter or what I just said?
Yeah, and one thing that he mentioned about the French family that was allowing their children to have watered down wine, a taste of it, a small little sip or two during dinner to give them the idea that wine was not something to be abused. Wine was normal part of their meal. And so, that taught them moderation. And he's right. That's how we need to treat children. Everything is okay for the most part. I mean, there's certain things that are unlawful or immoral. But for the most part, moderation is a good way to live your life. Don't deprive yourself of the things you enjoy, but also, be smart about how you do it. And parents giving children the ability to not be afraid of things, to accept things as normal, to not think that things are bad, even when they're not, just because they think they should teach them that. It's not a good thing for kids. Kids need to be given the boundaries that they have. But, and I always thought my parents just let me do what I wanted to. And as I grew up, I realized that they had set boundaries that I didn't even realize.
Yeah.
But they gave me the feeling that I was independent, making independent thought, but I was really making independent thought based on them.
Well, I was allowed to be clothes free my whole life growing up, but there were somewhat guidelines around that. In the backyard, never was an issue. Side of the house, never an issue. But if you go out front, you got to put some clothes on. That was never really explained other than some neighbors don't like it. It's like, well, who cares about the neighbors? But, I was a kid, so you can't really argue much. And I wonder if that still in the back of my mind, if I'm walking to the mailbox, if I don't consciously think about it, I'll put shorts on before I leave the house, but I'll put a shirt on too. I wonder if that's in the back of my mind. Oh, can't go out in front with clothes off. Now I'm to the point where I consciously think about it. Nude in the house, going to walk to my mailbox, shorts go on, shirt, and then I realize, I don't need a shirt. And I'll go get the mail. But that took a long time for me to even realize that I was doing that, because I just did it out of habit. Do you think that's how that works, or just my parents put it in me? You have to have clothes on in the front yard. So even as an adult, I have clothes on in the front yard. What do you think?
Habits are something that are very hard to unlearn, and it takes a conscious effort to do so. And when we're given instruction as a child and expected to follow that instruction, then we start to develop those habits. So this is how we're going to do things, and we don't ever think that we could do it another way. And so I think it's that uncomfortableness, that trying to change that feeling of behavior that we've always expected to do, and we don't really want to do anymore. But I think I think we carry a lot of that kind of instruction from our parents into our adulthood.
Yeah. And I remember even as a kid seeing statues of people from long ago, hundreds of years ago, if whatever, maybe thousands, I don't even know. And almost all of them were nude. The famous artists painted people in the nude. And of course, as kids, it'd be brought to my attention, hey, baby, look at this chick they painted naked 300 years ago. Or whatever, 1,000 years ago. And I always wondered, how did they get away with that then, but we can't do it now? And it took me, again, a long time to realize, because that was considered to be normal back then. It's still normal, it's just not considered to be normal. So we've had a pulling back of that. That's about the most frustrating thing of all, isn't it?
It certainly is. And, it amazes me because we look at that as art, the statues in the museums in Rome, or any statue anywhere in a museum of a nude person. Guess what? We look at that as art. A lot of people are offended by it and just don't go look, but that's art. And so what's the difference between that being labeled as art with a naked body, and the naked body? There isn't any difference. And yet society has really messed us up.
Well, we thank Mark for his letter. And as he put it, even now, as an adult, he claims to be 27, as do I. I guess, spoiler alert, that's not true in the case of either one of us, but we'll just let it ride. But he can still be nude in front of his parents. Now, how many people can say that today?
Mm-mm.
I'm going to go see my parents, and the thought of nudity or clothes free never comes up. I know with Jennifer it does because that's how they were raised her. That's how they've lived their whole lives. But for most people, going to see my parents, make sure I got an extra pair of pants in the car, and off we go. Whereas Mark just doesn't even give it a thought. And just, I'm going to see my parents, and I don't know if he drives there in the nude, but when he's there, if he has clothes on to drive, which I think he often does not, but if he does, when he gets where they come off and they have a nice visit. How
Mm-hmm.
normal and natural is that?
It's extremely normal and natural, and I wish
Mm.
that all of us could live that way, but unfortunately, all of us don't.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you again, Mark. Nudeandhappy.com. We put his link in the show notes again, so you can visit him and buy his books and check out all of his content on his website. We got a notification from Dan Hawkins. He is the current president for the American Association for Nude Recreation, the Southwest region, and he has started a new Substack. And I believe the Substack is under the name D.H. Jonathan, which is his pen name for when he writes books. But same guy, and he's open
Mm-hmm.
about that. Dan Hawkins, D.H. Jonathan. A brand new Substack. And his first article came out just 2 days ago on Monday of this week. So he invites you to check that out and talks about naturism and a whole bunch of things as it pertains to what's going on in the world in general, but specifically an incident that happened last week and how it plays into naturism. So we invite you to check that out. We put a link in the show notes to Dan's Substack page, so go ahead and check that out. Lisa, any thoughts on Dan or D.H. Jonathan, or however you want to phrase it, before we move on?
I think that what I've read, his writing is exceptional, and I think that he has some thought-provoking things, as we just talked about thought-provoking ideas. So I think it's worth everyone taking a look and seeing what Dan has to say.
Yeah, very well written article.
Extremely.
Not everybody will agree with the content, but that's what makes the world go round. And I guess what we'd like to see people get away from, whether you agree or disagree, it doesn't mean the other person is a bad person. You should hate him. There's a lot. Well, you don't agree with me, therefore I hate you because you're a scumbag. That's beyond ridiculous, but it's kind of what we're facing today.
It is definitely what we're facing. The polarization between people has just been horrendous. And, I think we see that a little bit in naturism, but not to the same level that we see in a lot of other situations. But, hey, we all need to get along. And we need to stop labeling each other as horrid and vile and nasty because we don't believe the same way they do.
That's true. So check it out. D.H. Jonathan, Dan Hawkins, new Substack page. It started this week on Monday, and the link is in the show notes. Before we go on, Lisa, I wanted to remind everybody we are the official podcast for the American Association for Nude Recreation. Are you a member? If so, great. But if not, you can become one today within moments. Just go to AANR.com, follow the navigation to membership. And within moments, just like Lisa Monroe is and just like I am, you will become fully fledged members of the American Association for Nude Recreation. Not only how about that, but Lisa, that reminds me, our renewal is coming up soon. Don't let me forget to send that in.
Well, I will not let you forget to send that in because it's important. We need to stay and keep that membership up there.
That's right. So we will do that probably as soon as we get off the show today. So I don't forget. It's got to get that done. Good. All right. Now, we had an email from Brian that we recently read. This is the Brian from Canada. We have two Brians going on. And this is the one from Canada. And he wanted to know if we'd ever been to any nudist resorts in Canada. And I made some comment on the show, no, but I have had some adventures with nudity in Canada, or however I phrased it. So I'm going to tell you what I did under the heading of Frank is not perfect. I know that's shocking. That's shocking to you. I can tell by the look on your face.
Yeah,
what?
I never would have guessed that. No.
Right. But this was long ago. I was in college. You have to understand, when I was in high school, I was told, hey, there are places you can go to see naked women. Like, whoa, are you serious? Yeah, they have these topless bars, naked bars. I said, oh, come on, they can't be naked. Oh, they are. You have to be kidding me. All right. So I was in high school, and my best friend at the time said, the day you turn 18, which was the legal limit at that time, I will take you to one of these places. Wow, this is great. Can my birthday come any sooner, right? Please keep in mind the age. I was 17 and 16 and 15 before that. And so the night I turned 18, he took me to a place in Canada where they had totally nude, I'll call them dancers. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Well, loose description.
I'm not sure if Arthur Murray would be proud or Bob
Okay.
Fosse
No, choreography is certainly somewhat different in this situation,
or lack thereof.
and the lack thereof.
Yeah. But they were definitely 100% clothes free. And somebody told me, well, they can't be 100% naked. They have to have at least one article of clothing on. So a lot of them took I don't know, a sock or a ribbon and tied it in their hair, and that qualified as their one item of clothing. So basically, yeah, they were naked. And so I went there and we checked that out. And I will admit, at age 18, my first day of being age 18, I enjoyed that. But I also realized there's something wrong about this. You know, at 18, your mind hasn't fully formed, but I could tell this, I don't know about this. Because I had grown up clothes free in a normal, natural environment. This wasn't normal and natural because the women on stage, and there were a lot of them, like 35 or 40, spread out throughout the place. They were naked, but nobody in the audience was. In fact, every guy who walked in minimally had to have a dress shirt and tie on, obviously pants, but you didn't have to have a suit coat, but it was preferred you got a better seat if you did. So not only, guys, you got to be dressed, you got to be really dressed while the women are nude. And I instantly recognized, this is, I don't know about this. And so that was the only time I went. I think we went to another place that night, similar situation. So I have experienced nudity to a degree in Canada. Didn't feel right about it then, and certainly haven't gone back because that is not naturism. That's the whole thing of, hey, baby, look at this. And no, we're not into that at all. How about yourself? I know I don't know if you've experienced nudism in Canada or elsewhere. Anything you want to confess on the show today?
I have been to Canada and I love it. It's a beautiful place, but I've not experienced nudism in Canada at all. I did see the Chippendales, if that counts,
Oh,
when I was
sure.
much younger.
Yeah.
But no, not in that capacity have I experienced nudism. And that goes back to that situation where there's nudism or naturism, and then there's the sexual component. And these sort of clubs and stuff are basically all of that. But I'm not going to ever say they have their place, but they certainly exist. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's probably a good way to put it. And but we don't encourage that, and we
No.
certainly don't frequent those places at all because that's not naturism. And to a degree, they can be kind of dangerous on the mind. We've read and we've heard from
Yeah.
others. And there were even some women who were interviewed in the newspaper some years ago because there were places where men danced in the nude as well. And they said they went there every night. And they said, yeah, we'll admit it. We're addicted. We're hooked. We go every night. Well, do you think you might have a problem if you're going to that kind of a place every night? It'd be like going to any other place every night. Yeah, I get drunk every night. Or I take drugs every night. Or I go see naked guys dance every night. Well, there could be a problem there. What do you think?
Yeah, it certainly could be. And I think it goes back to that need for moderation. Ladies, too much of a good thing can be too much, and
Yeah.
not even sure that's a good thing. But, people get crazy. We get fixated on things, and it's just, I don't know. Sometimes I think, human beings need to get a reset so that they start to look at things in a logical manner.
All right. So those are our full confessions. I guess you just kind of sort of admitted you're not perfect either. Would you agree to that, or
And
did I
well,
misunderstand?
I was, a part of a group who just suddenly decided to go to Chippendales. It wasn't my idea. No. Yeah, okay, all right. No, I'm not perfect. And I have to admit it was fun. So what can I tell you?
So you thought when you got out of the car, oh, good, I'm with my lady friends. We're going to go out for some nice tea and crumpets and be home by 9. And then all of a sudden, whoa, what is this? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, that the new tea
Okay.
and crumpets probably weren't on the agenda that evening, but there's nothing wrong with experiencing things as long as, again, you keep them in perspective and don't cross the line. I think there's certain things that are just beyond where people should be, but the Chippendales are pretty lame as far as that kind of behavior goes.
Yeah, and they were not fully nude. Is that correct?
No, they
Right.
were not.
Okay. Okay, well, I guess there were places, maybe still are places, where, lack of a better term, entertainers in quotation marks,
Mm-hmm.
dancers in quotation marks, are fully nude. But that's not naturism, and we're not proponents of that. We don't
Mm-hmm.
suggest it. We don't recommend it. We will never go to a place like that again, unless they say, "Hey, it's naturism night."
Everybody's naked. Yes.
Frank and Lisa will do their show from Malcolm Love. Everybody come in naked, just bring a towel, and you'll be good to go. I guess that'd be the only way, but that's not
Yeah.
going to happen.
I can see it now. Some group saying, "Oh, we're going to X Club tonight," and everybody gets to be naked in there. And I'm not sure that's a really kind of excursion most naturists would do.
Well, that's true. That is true. So anyway,
Yeah.
we'll get off that topic. But Brian asked if we'd ever had any nudism experiences in Canada. Yeah, I guess I had one, actually two, on the same evening, but never again since. I've been to Canada many times since then,
Mhm.
but did not go to those places. But anyway, let's move on.
Yes.
I wanted to readdress. We had an email from Kenny, talked about the archaic laws in the state of Arkansas. Basically, if you get caught naked, I think it's a $2,500 fine and put on the sex offender list. Am I recalling that correctly?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
I can't even fathom that they would extend just the fact someone's naked to
Mhm.
being on the sex offender list. I mean, that's absurdity. That's taking this whole thing much further than it should ever be taken. If there is no lewd behavior whatsoever, then what are they thinking?
I don't know. And I didn't even know this existed until JD came on our show, episodes 44 and 45. And the whole time he was talking, I thought, just kind of like, wow, are you kidding me? Holy cow.
Yeah.
That was my internal reaction. I didn't say all that stuff out loud, but that's way overboard. And the part that gets me, we've talked about this before, and people who live in Arkansas have told me this. In fact, I think JD mentioned it. There's a church on every corner.
Mhm.
In New York City, there's a Starbucks on every corner.
Yes.
In some other big towns, in Arkansas, there's a church on every corner. You come to a four-way stop, you have four churches right there. Okay, and that's a state that doesn't allow any nudity at all ever, which is the antithesis of what it says in the Bible, which the churches purport to espouse from. How we got from nudity is totally normal to people who study the Bible say nudity is bad, I don't know. And maybe they don't study the Bible. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe they just get in church and say nudity is bad. Keep your clothes on. That way you won't sin. Well, come on. There are a lot of people with clothes on who sin every day. And they rob banks, they steal cars, whatever, fully clothed, baby. Can't get me.
Mhm.
I guess you could steal a car in Arkansas. You wouldn't get the $2,500 fine. You wouldn't be on the sex offender list. You might go to jail, but little jail between friends. I don't know. It's just beyond crazy. And at the end, he said, "I'm looking forward to your interview with the president of ANR." This was sent obviously a few weeks ago. And would love to know if ANR would be able to help us closet naturists in Arkansas to finally be able to walk into the light and get some free vitamin D. And as I mentioned on a recent show, we sent this email to Linda Weber, the president, and Jeff, the communications director at the ANR office. I don't know what they can do. I mean, there's only so much they can do. They don't run the state. They don't.
Mhm.
They're not the governor or the whatever. And they have been involved in cases in that state before. I think there's still one going on that they have some interest in. I don't know. Any recommendations, Lisa? What to do with a state like that? Who you got your clothes off? $2,500 on the sex offender list, pal. What do you think?
Re-elect the different people to office and get the laws changed is the only thing I can think of. Well, you know what? When people have this sort of reaction to something like just make this, it makes me believe that there's some tremendous insecurity in how they've been brought up and how they think about the world. And it's if they can't deal with it, then no one else can deal with it. And
Hmm.
it's a fear, I think, that suddenly snowballs and becomes something completely out of control. And to me, Arkansas's laws on nudity are out of control. This is
Hmm.
ridiculous.
I wonder if it goes back to, when Mark talked about moderation.
Mm-hmm.
You don't give a kid a whole wine bottle or a whole case
Mm-mm.
of wine bottles. Say, here, kid, have at it. You give them a
Mm-hmm.
few sips in moderation, and that's it. So they've tasted the wine, literally.
Mm-hmm.
And with naturism / nudity, if you just say no, 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 and extremely no over and over, that's going to make people think, well, what happens if I do?
Mm-hmm.
And then they have those conflicts within themselves. Like, I want my clothes off, but I've been told since birth I have to keep them on. And sometimes that's when bad things happen. Then you find ways to get clothes free and do things you wouldn't ordinarily do, either to be seen or to see others. And then all heck breaks loose when simple naturism, just walking in your backyard to whatever, rake up some leaves, hurts nobody, right?
It certainly doesn't. And, I just think it comes back to the labels that we put on things and the fears that we put on certain situations. And, until we learn how to look at everything in a rational thought, I don't know how we change. I just don't.
Okay, well, that is his plea from Kenny. We had the plea from JD. I know Anna's been involved. I'm not sure what can be done. We have no recommendations other than, as you said, elect new leaders, but
Mm-hmm.
that's much more easily said than done.
Oh, very much so.
But if you're from Arkansas and you have something you want to weigh in on, we'd certainly love to hear from you as well. Well, Lisa, we have, again, on this coming Saturday, part one of my interview with Jeff Jackson. He is the founder and owner of the Rocky Mountain Naturist Club. He is one of three people. I got to make sure I point that out. The other two gentlemen are Kane Stanton and John Puchelt. Really hope I pronounced that name correctly. But Jeff, Kane, and John developed this manual on non-landed clubs. And Jeff sent that to me prior to the interview. And I read the whole document a few times. It's one of the best documents I've ever read. And I'm not just saying that because he's on the show. One of the best documents I've ever read in terms of whether it's naturism or not. Here's how you do something. It's like, an A to Z, follow this, do this, then do that, then do this other thing, and don't forget this. And by the time you're done, you'll have a thriving non-landed club. So hats off for those three gentlemen. We'll get to part one with Jeff Jackson on this Saturday. He's also the vice president of Anner West. Again, he won't admit this because he's far too humble, but a brand new driving force in the world of naturism. And I shouldn't say new. He's just been behind the scenes more. Now he's in front of the camera, so to speak. I think you're going to hear a lot more from and about Jeff Jackson as the time goes on. What do you think?
Well, I think so too. And I have to say, we've had a whole lot of people who have contacted us and talked to us over these last couple of years that say, what do I do? I live in an area that I don't have anybody around me. I don't have a club nearby. What do I do? And we've often said, go find like-minded people. Well, now there's a plan for going to find like-minded people. And I think that's really something that, anyone who's wants that kind of social naturism in an area that they can't get to something is already established, you might want to take a look at this and see, because there you reach a point where a certain number of these people, and suddenly you can be Anner affiliated and you can have those protections and you can have, that interaction with other organizations, and it's a big deal. And I think this is a wonderful, wonderful program that Anner's beginning to get, and Jeff is just the perfect person to lead it. He is enthusiastic.
Yeah, very much so. And as you'll hear on the show, he started off when he moved to Colorado, I think the Denver area. He started off by joining some other naturist groups, and every one of them became defunct. They just didn't last, and it just didn't work out. And finally, he decided, you know what? I'm going to just start my own. And so he did, and it's thriving. So I asked him, not so much what did they do wrong, but what are you doing right? They died off. You're thriving. And he said the other ones were kind of a one-issue club. We're a non-landed naturist club, and the only thing we do is rent a pool every so often to go naked swimming and maybe grill a few hamburgers. Okay, well, that's fine. But he said people are looking for variety. And so he thought, what if I offer a wealth of opportunities? A painting session, a bowling session, yes, a swimming session, traveling to different resorts, and all kinds of other things. And he said, every person's likely to enjoy one of those things, and maybe they'll enjoy two or three, maybe they'll enjoy everything, but now the world is at their fingertips if they join his club. And that's what he's done, and it's thriving. So maybe that's the answer. Don't become a single-issue naturism club, because then you substantially limit the possibility somebody will join. Does that make sense?
It certainly does, and I think people get bored, We're human beings, we need stimulation, and we need new adventures, and, so, hey, going to swim in the same pool every single weekend is fun, and it's wonderful, and it's great that you can do it, but every now and then you might wanna go to the beach and lay on a nude beach, or you might wanna go to a big Olympic-sized pool at a resort, so, or a hot tub or whatever, and so, yes, I think the breadth of the experiences is just as important as the experience in a lot of ways.
Yeah. They even traveled down to Playa Sonrisa. Remember we had the owners
Oh,
on
yes,
several
that
months
place
ago?
is gorgeous.
Yeah. So they're doing all kinds of things. So if you join his club, you'll have all kinds of opportunities. So we'll talk to Jeff Jackson again this Saturday and the following Saturday, parts 1 and 2. Well, Lisa Monroe, with that, let's head for the hills. Go out there and have a great clothes-free few days, and I'll see you on Saturday.
Absolutely. You have a great clothes-free few days. That's hard to say. Clothes-free few days. And we'll see everybody on Saturday.
Sounds good. The very terrific Lisa Monroe comes in here twice a week for these segments. Today's show, Wednesday, and also on Saturday's show. And does so much more. Does our website, does our merchandise, does those memes you see Tuesdays and Wednesday mornings on social media. And does it all around here. We appreciate Lisa Monroe very much. Now, before we go, I was alerted to the fact that a gentleman, a friend of the show, a follower of the show, Dustin, he goes by One Naturist Life on Blue Sky and lists himself as a retired firefighter, EMT, professional photographer, ham radio operator, ANR member, volunteer, and so much more that he does in his life. And he's also a terrific writer. I've had a chance to read a few of his articles. Well, he has a Substack out there, and he did an article on us. I've not yet had a chance to review it. I just got word right before we started the show today that it's out there. So we will be checking that out, and we'll give you a full report on next week's show. Probably won't be able to do it this Saturday, but we can do it on Wednesday's show of next week. But hats off and very big time thank you to Dustin. And again, you can find him on One Naturist Life. That's the numeral 1, One Naturist Life on Blue Sky. So thank you, Dustin, for that. And we'll be back to you next week on a report on that article. Well, we hope you enjoyed the show today. We really appreciate your feedback. We enjoy the interaction. Our email address, once again, nakedforevermore@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter. Yep, still call it Twitter around here. You can find us on Blue Sky, Spotify, Patreon, YouTube. We are everywhere, all kinds of ways to contact us. And as I've mentioned a few times now, on the next 2 Saturdays, Jeff Jackson will be our special guest, the current vice president for ANR, the Western region, also the founder-owner of Rocky Mountain Naturist Club, and has developed a manual along with Kane and John, all about how to start, continue, and thrive with a non-landed club. So the next 2 Saturdays, episodes 125 and 127, our special guest will be Jeff Jackson. Well, you've been listening to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 124 today. We give you a brand new show every Saturday morning, 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time, and on most Wednesdays, 12 noon Eastern Time. Continue to join us. Check us out on our website, nakednudistandnaturist.com, Spotify, Google, Amazon/Audible, Apple Podcasts, and also on Twitter. You can write us anywhere, anytime, any place. And we thank you for being with us today. Plan to join us for every single one of our shows here and have your clothes off when you're listening. We have our clothes off when we're broadcasting, enjoying the naturist life.
We celebrate clothes-free living for all. Remember to enjoy being naked and join us again for Naked, Nudists, and Naturists.
We drop a brand new show every Saturday morning, so come back and join us. Have your clothes off when you do for Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Have a great clothes-free day.